breaking news. They are finally admitting that we are now in a forever war with Iran. Or that sure as hell seems like what Donald Trump is pushing. So we have some folks saying it's not a war. Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth say it's a war with Iran. We have some folks saying, oh, this will never be a forever war, right? This is just going to be in and out and done. But we have Donald Trump saying we could do this forever. Let me show you the evidence of this. Now, first, Donald Trump is out of his mind. He does not know what's going on. And it's the times that he has any kind of lucidity and attachment to reality are getting smaller and smaller during his waking hours. And on top of that, he's got substantial memory loss. He doesn't even remember that his father was born in New York. He told the German chancellor yesterday that his father was born in Germany. Donald Trump is making shit up like he always does. And he has absolutely no concern for anyone but himself. He is, as you know, a narcissist. And so his truth about why he is at war comes through. It's all about the money. Let's start with his insane comment yesterday that if we did not preemptively start bombing Iran, we would have had a nuclear war. Really? Utter bullshit. Let's play that.
Big factor in this world and future factor is what we're doing right now with Iran. If we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war and they would have taken out many countries. Because
if we didn't do what we're doing now, you would have had a nuclear war and Iran would have taken out many countries? Really? Is this the same guy who this summer said we destroyed their nuclear capacity by bombing those bunkers or what have you? And then a few weeks ago, he was saying, well, when he was asked about that, he said, well, there's still some dust in there. Now we're hearing we are on the verge of a nuclear war. Really? That's kind of crazy. Now, how about this? We get J.D. Vance just saying on Fox News, this is not going to last forever. Don't worry, folks. Right? Here's the VP. Let's hear that.
Different about President Trump, and it's frankly different about both Republicans and Democrats of the past, is that he's not going to let his country go to war unless there's a clearly defined objective. He's defined that objective as Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and has to commit long term to never trying to rebuild their nuclear capability. It's pretty clear. It's pretty simple. And I think that means that we're not going to get into the problems that we've had with Iraq and Afghanistan.
do you and the
Okay. So J.D. Vance has now said the objective is to eliminate Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapon. That's what he's saying the objective is. Haven't heard that from Donald Trump. Okay. And you also probably heard him say we're just not going to be, what's different is we're not going to be caught in a war forever. Let's listen to that part, okay?
Build their nuclear capability. It's pretty clear. It's pretty simple. And I think that means
Hold on, let me just get this again so you can hear it.
Objective is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and has to commit long term to never trying to rebuild their nuclear capability. It's pretty clear. It's pretty simple. And I think that means that we're not going to get into the problems that we've had with Iraq and Afghanistan.
do you and the president
Okay. Let's listen to what Donald Trump had to say about that, right? Quite different. Here we go. This was yesterday evening. Or I'm sorry, this was on the 2nd, actually Monday evening. He says the United States munition stockpiles have at the medium and upper medium grade never been higher. And then he says, as was stated to me today, we have virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. And then here we go. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully. Okay. Now, No talk there about casualties. And let's first, I care about casualties all around. We've talked about 175 people killed, including the vast majority of those folks were children, little girls at a school in Iran. Okay, I care about that. And I want to say, when it comes to U.S. Members of the service, right, U.S. Enlisted, they're saying only 6 people have perished. Well, let's take a look at what we're seeing here from reporting. Jeremy Scahill says, over the past 24 hours, we have heard via witnesses that the number of U.S. personnel injured in Iranian attacks in Kuwait is much higher than has been acknowledged, right? So they may be counting the deaths correctly, not sure, but injuries, serious injuries as well. We don't know what the real truth is here. And on top of it, right, on top of that, there was no foresight in what would happen to the between 500,000 and 1 million Americans who are in the Middle East, in harm's way right now, right? We're hearing that France is getting some like aircraft carriers to evacuate. Right-wing influencers, right? Some right-wing influencers use their connections to the White House to be able to charter a plane out of, maybe it was Dubai, maybe it was in the UAE. I'm not sure where exactly, whether it was in the UAE, specifically Dubai or another nation. They were able to get out. But what about the 500,000 to 1 million Americans? Let's hear what Donald Trump had to say about that.
Commercial air travel right now is severely restricted in the Middle East, and thousands of Americans.
So you hear the report, it's kind of crackly. She's asking about commercial air travel and how it's been shut down throughout the Middle East in most countries. Let's listen.
Commercial air travel right now is severely restricted in the Middle East, and thousands of Americans are stranded. Why wasn't there an evacuation plan, and will you send planes to get people out?
Well, because it happened all very quickly. We thought, and I thought maybe more so than most, I could ask Marco, but I thought we were going to have a situation where we were going to be attacked. They were getting ready to attack Israel. They were getting ready to attack others. You're seeing that right now. And a lot of.
Okay. He's saying everything happened so quickly, so they couldn't have a plan for how to evacuate Americans. What utter bullshit. We have seen what the president's been saying for weeks and months. We have seen him saying the negotiations are falling apart. This was discussed. Why, as part of the discussions, didn't anyone say what happens if and when Iran retaliates and starts bombing U.S. assets throughout the Middle East? They didn't even fucking talk about it, or they didn't care. Let's continue.
Those missiles that are hitting in, those are stationary. Those were aimed there for a long period of time at these other countries. So I think I was right about that. We attacked first, and if we didn't, it could have been, look, we're really.
Okay. Bullshit. He said these weapons had been aimed at these countries. Well, then why didn't we always have a plan? This is the same guy who decided to announce withdrawal from Afghanistan. And then when he's gone and Biden has to execute that plan, he criticizes what he called a messy withdrawal from Afghanistan. And he didn't even think or care to get this right. Here, he doesn't actually care. Now let's hear what John Thune, Senate Majority Leader, Donald's Republican Party, had to say about the stranded Americans in the Middle East. Again, between 500,000 and 1 million people.
Told to evacuate. They've also been told that the U.S. government cannot help them to evacuate. Did the State Department and the Trump administration kind of bum?
Okay, what you hear someone saying is reporting that there are Americans now who are complaining that the U.S. government isn't helping them evacuate.
The response in terms of telling Americans whether or not to evacuate, and now it's too late?
I think that you will see a ramped up, intensified effort to ensure that Americans are being evacuated from the region, and I suspect that's going to involve a good amount of investment and air assets to get people out of there. But, obviously there are implications. This has turned out, as we kind of suspected it might be, that the Iranians, when they retaliated, it would be a very far-reaching response. But the fact that the Ayatollah is out of there and
Okay. It's like they're trying to say, well, we didn't have a plan, or it turned out, and then he goes, like we expected that this was going to happen. Come on. They didn't expect a damn thing, and this should have been negotiated before Congress. This is not how it's supposed to go. Now, to add this morning, right before the show, there was a Pentagon press conference around 8 a.m.-ish. And we had, of course, the hog's breath, or keg's breath, or what Hegseth, I don't even know what I call him anymore, speaking about what is going down. And a lot of it is exaggerations, lies, and sort of, chest thumping. Okay. And he is asked about casualties. And let me show you what he had to say. And the first I'm going to talk to you about the U.S. casualties, and I want to talk about the little girls' lives. Okay.
Much was made of the volume of missiles Iran was able to shoot in the first few days. And sadly, as we projected, a few got through and killed 6 of our best, who will hopefully arrive home soon. We will avenge them, no doubt. But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game.
I'm sorry, excuse me? That was a really weird pivot. Really weird pivot from 6 people who lost their lives when Iran retaliates, right? And we will avenge them. And then he pivots to saying this is like a football team. I don't think this is a game. But to people like this, it is. Let's continue.
The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what plays to call, let alone how to get in the huddle and call.
What a pig. What a pig. He's accusing them of not knowing which plays to call. Let's now, my friends, talk about his response to the 175 people killed, at least 150 of them little girls at school. Let's hear his response to that.
Thank you. Come back with the BBC. Can you give us an update on what the administration knows, what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday?
All I can say is that we're investigating that. We, of course, never target civilian targets, but we're taking a look and investigating that. Red tie in front.
Just on the basis that with the information you would have, your reconnaissance abilities, ability to gather information, I mean, it's several days on now. So is there any clarity on whose munition this was?
We're investigating it.
This is inconsistent. If we're good at what we do, then how, whether the U.S. or Israel, how could the school have been hit? Either it was targeted or it was a mistake. I'm going with they didn't care enough not to kill children. This is what this war is. And they know. They're saying they're still looking into it. Utter bullshit. If they still need to be today, Wednesday morning, looking into something that happened early Saturday morning and they can't fucking figure it out, bullshit. They're lying to us. They don't want to take responsibility for these deaths. Now, let's add to this. Pete doesn't want to talk about the deaths. He wants it all to be a game where somebody wins and somebody loses. Don't talk about the blood and death.
But the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news.
When a few drones get through or tragic things happen, passive voice, vagueness, tragic things happen. Tragic things happen. What does that mean? When 6 American service members are killed by Iranian weapons. Tragic things happen when 175, mostly little girls, are killed by when we send missiles in or drones in, when we or Israel drop a bomb on a little girl's school and murder, blow, and vaporize 150 little girls at school. Those are things that are happening. Tragic things don't fucking happen. People take actions and need to take responsibility. And he is pissed off that that is the first thing people report. Let's continue this.
Things happen. It's front page news.
Yeah.
I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report.
No one is trying to make him look bad. What you are saying is reporting on the harm that Donald Trump's and your actions cause makes him look bad. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
The reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
And the terms of that war are bad things happen, or what did he say? Tragic things happen. Let me just get this right.
This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things.
Okay. He doesn't want to take responsibility for the deaths that he is causing. If you drop a weapon on a girls' school, and you don't give a shit to find out whether it is, you don't want to admit that you do it, and you don't want it to be in the news, right? When you start a war without a good plan and 500,000 to 1 million Americans are stranded because of your choices, you don't want that to be in the news. So what do you want? You want it to be a football game, but it's not a game. Now, I've already established that Pete Hegseth is a pig, but let me be clear. This is Donald Trump. He is in charge of everything. And this brings me to, and this is really critical for me, why he is doing all of this. And by all of this, I mean, we've got the war in Iran. Of course, there is the takeover of Venezuela, sort of, or the control of Venezuelan oil. And now, this morning, we find out that we are now involved in military action in Ecuador. Yes, Ecuador. What the actual fuck? I swear it was in the New York Times and last night, and I am like, what? Ecuador. So this was, and I want to share this in case you have not actually seen this. Yes. So to be clear what is going on here. U.S. opens military action in Ecuador against so-called terrorist organizations. We have U.S. Special Forces advising and supporting Ecuadorian commandos on raids across the country against suspected drug shipment facilities and other drug-related sites. Yes, this is happening. This is, I consider that boots on the ground when special forces go in. They consider it special forces. I guess if special forces go in and go out in a short period of time, maybe their boots don't touch the ground. Maybe special forces are so special that they can walk on water and they glide. They sort of glide. They don't wear boots. They kind of glide in their roller skates in and out. Okay, I don't know. This is what is happening now. And let's be clear, it's all about Donald Trump. Let me show you one last clip of him from that meeting in the Oval when German Chancellor Merz was there. Let's listen to what he had to say about Venezuela. Remember the supposed justification for toppling Maduro in Venezuela, the many justifications. One was they were involved in, that there was this, the drug war, that they were narco terrorists. Or the other was, well, he wasn't really elected, so it was our job to do regime change. Or the other excuse was, I'm trying to even think, they're oppressing their people. Okay, let's hear what he's actually doing there.
And we have Delcy, who's been very good. We have the whole chain of command, and they've been, look, the relationship's been great. We've taken out 100 million barrels of oil already, and a big part of that goes to them, and a big part goes to us. And it's been great. We paid for the war many times over, and we're going to be running the oil, and Venezuela is going to make more money than they ever made. And
we're going to be running the oil. It's going to us. That us is him. He's controlling these bank accounts overseas, right? This is a very weird situation. The us is not US, right? It is Donald Trump. And we have no way of fully knowing what is happening. Now, apparently, the US Energy Secretary has said that the money from the sale of oil, Venezuelan oil, he claims is now going directly into accounts handled by the US Treasury. Okay, that's really good if you believe that. But what about the money from before, right? We don't know what has happened. We believe this was, was put in a bank account in Qatar. Will we see that money? Was it appropriated to pay consultants or other expenses that go into Donald Trump's pocket? How will we ever know? Oops, I'm sorry. So that is clear to me that the justification in Iran is, of course, largely also about oil, right? Follow the oil money. Now, I want to pivot now to a couple things that have happened over the past few days. We got Bill Clinton's deposition or under oath congressional testimony released. And I want to share one video clip because he brought this back to Donald Trump when he was asked. I want you to, if you haven't seen this, I want to play this for you and we'll talk on the other side.
The Safe at Home Foundation. And it was designed to combat domestic violence, of which Joe Torre had been a victim as a child. And so I wanted to support it. And so Donald Trump gave him the golf course in New York to have a tournament on, and I played in it a couple of times. And the day I was there, he would typically, Donald Trump would come out and play a few holes with us. And he somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal. And he said, I'm sorry it happened. That's all.
Do you recall whether President Trump was the first one to affirmatively bring up the subject of Jeffrey Epstein?
No, but I'd be shocked if I did. I just don't do that.
So did you hear that? As we have always suspected, Donald Trump did have the falling out with Epstein in 2005 over the real estate deal, right? Remember that? And even though he is trying to reconstruct that he really had this falling out with Epstein, right? There's Epstein, over the fact that he was recruiting young girls and young women to be trafficked from Mar-a-Lago, which we know was true. And that was the reason that he had the falling out. Better reporting has always been it was about buying this mansion, right? In buying this mansion in Palm Beach that Donald Trump was able to buy on the cheap and sell really high, despite the fact the real estate market was terrible at the time, sold to a Russian oligarch, thought to be perhaps money laundering. So what you just heard from that clip is Bill Clinton was asked by a member of the committee about conversations he may have had with Donald Trump about Epstein. And what's fascinating to me is that if this memory is accurate, Donald Trump is out on the golf course at this fundraising event and with Bill Clinton, and that Donald Trump mentions Epstein and brought up to former President Clinton that he knew Clinton had been on the plane. Now, I don't know if he's bringing this up as a veiled threat, like I know you know him, but why would he know that? I don't know. And secondly, that he admitted that the falling out was about this real estate deal and that he regretted it. Interesting, right? Nothing about child sexual abuse. This is, so here I said 2005, I just want to show you, this was this Palm Beach mansion. It came on sale in 2004. This is what we know. And right after he breaks up with Epstein, he gets involved in The Apprentice. Okay, where we have had reporting that he sexually assaulted or harassed people there, and some settled those cases with him. Oops, I'm sorry. So that's what you heard. I want to know why Donald Trump hasn't been brought before that committee. Now, next topic that we are going to talk about. Yesterday, Kristi Noem was before a Senate committee to discuss her role at Homeland, as Secretary of Homeland Security, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. And she'll be today before a House committee. And so I want to share with you, because this was absolutely a barbecue. But before I jump into this, I've noticed that it's really easier to hold feet to the fire and be very direct in attacking women than men. And look, Noem deserves everything she got. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is she's in the role she is in because of Donald Trump. I really wish that every single one of these, including Republicans who grilled her, and especially Democrats, tied everything she is doing to Donald Trump. She is just the face for his leadership. They need to make no daylight there. But with that said, I'm going to share with you what, the roasting here. So here is Tom Tillis. Okay, and let's play this. Again, of course, Tillis, Republican.
Secretary, I read your book last week. And honestly, some of the parts of it impressed me, but some of it distresses me. And I'll give you a good example of one that does. The passage where you talk about killing a dog that was 14 months old. I train dogs, all right? And you are a farmer. You should know better. You should know that if you're going out to a hunting lodge and you're putting pheasants out and you're putting dogs out, you don't take a puppy out there. A 14-month-old dog is basically a teenager in dog years. You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices. It's in your book. We could play it if we had time. At that same lunch hour, you killed a goat. And you killed the goat because you said it was behaving badly. You are a farmer. You don't castrate a goat. They behave badly. You should have probably done that before. But my point is, those are bad decisions made in the heat of the moment, not unlike what happened up in Minneapolis. We're an exceptional nation. And one of the reasons we're exceptional is we expect exceptional leadership. And you've demonstrated anything but that in the time that I've seen you responding to the emergency in North Carolina and across the Southeast, and acknowledging when mistakes are made and speaking too soon for the expedient of social media or whatever it is. I'll leave you with this, Ms. Noem. I'm expecting answers to Charlotte's Web. I requested it a month ago. That was one of the investigations in Charlotte, 20 minutes from where I live. All I asked for, if it had to be anonymized, was information so that I could determine if your hit rate is right. I want to find more of those people, and I wanted to.
Okay. Kind of said it like it is. Now, Tillis, of course, Senator Tillis is not running for re-election. But as I said to you earlier, she's doing what she's doing because of Donald Trump. Not defending her, but why couldn't he have said that? One more from Tillis, and I got a few more.
Why am I disappointed with Secretary Noem? Because we're not going after enough people who did this damage at the expense of running numbers that Stephen Miller wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day, because numbers matter, right? No, they don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting.
Okay, so people are saying, well, how did she respond? Okay, we've got some responses from her too. Now, so this is Tillis. Let's take a look at something else that she was asked about. Okay, here is a question she gets, because she got several, about the private jet that she flies around on. I think this is Chris Coons. No, this is Senator Whitehouse from I want to say Rhode Island. Okay, let's play.
Could you explain this?
Sir, I'm looking at a picture of an interior. Looks like a bedroom.
Of an airplane?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You're not familiar with that?
These photos are not accurate. If you're referring to the airplanes that the Department of Homeland Security has purchased and are purchasing, we're using them for long-range command and control aircraft that is dictated in statute by Congress for the Department of Homeland Security to have a plane.
Luxury jet with a bedroom in it?
Yeah, we used a 737. I've been on it once, but it is being used by other administration officials, and it is used for command and control flights for the department. The department has found that in purchasing our aircraft, that we will save the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars.
Does it have a bedroom?
In fact, we spent $1.42 billion on ICE deportation flights last year.
Does it have a bedroom in it?
I believe it's being refurbished and not having a bedroom in it. So it is being refurbished.
What kind of deportee justifies being flown out of the country in a luxury jet with a bedroom and accommodations like this?
There are aircraft being purchased that will be utilized for executive air travel and for deportations.
Well,
if you remember in the past, we have used jets of this size and this configuration for deportations in the past. If you remember
by this configuration, you mean with a bedroom and luxury accommodations like this?
Are you kidding me? This is a person who is funding, using billions of dollars to build concentration camps, internment camps, places where people are dying already, where children are caged, where people are sick, don't get medical treatment, don't have fresh food, toilets and things like that. It's disgusting. And she's claiming that when they're deporting people, they're putting them on private jets like this. That's what she's trying to say. There is more from her. Okay, we have John Kennedy now. He is a senator, as you know, from Texas, also a Republican. Let's play that.
square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries.
I'm sorry. $220 million in television advertisements? I mean, I think I heard that, but I want to hear it again because it's fucking shocking. Let's go.
Running television advertisements that feature you prominently.
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before
Okay.
I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota, is that right?
Ooh.
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
I don't believe that.
And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. And yeah, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly,
Did the president
worked
know
with
you were going to do
OMB.
this?
Yeah, I am live. Who is this person? Lizzie? Hi, Lizzie. I am live. This is me live. Hi, I'm live, Lizzie. Okay, let's add to this. So you can see that, and there is more. I'm not going to totally over focus on this, but I want you to see Chris Coons now asking about the arrest quotas. This thing about the thing that Tillis you heard said, that quality of people. If you want to so-called get rid of the worst, people with violent records, not a traffic ticket, not someone with no record at all, but's been in the US with a family and friends and a business. Why have quotas?
Does DHS, Madam Secretary, operate on any quotas or numerical targets for immigration arrests every day?
No, Senator, we do not. We do targeted law enforcement operations going after those worst of the worst criminals that are here illegally.
I would certainly prefer it if you did targeted operations against the worst of the worst. But just last year, Stephen Miller, who's the president's Homeland Security Advisor and Deputy Chief of Staff, went on Fox News and said, we're setting a goal, a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day. And President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number higher and higher. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, and he oversees immigration policy for the president. What's your response to his public quote?
Sir, there is no quotas at the Department of Homeland Security. When we do law enforcement operations, we do them on targeted enforcement, getting public safety threats off of our streets and out of our communities to protect the American people.
Thank you. And you agree that setting quotas would actually put improper pressure on law enforcement to conduct themselves in ways that might not be in the best interest of their safety or the public.
Senator, we don't have any quotas on our law enforcement
Have you
operations.
ever issued any guidance rejecting the use of numerical targets or quotas?
I usually put out notices on things that are impacting our operations. There's been no discussion or requirement.
She hasn't answered the question. Okay. She was, okay. So I think you get that idea. Now I need to talk to you about Mar Martinez. This is the woman who was shot like 7 times and almost died, was taken, crawled her way or walked her way to get help at a service station, an auto repair shop, taken to the emergency room, sewn up, and within hours whisked away to be put in a prison. This woman is taken into custody by, I think it was CPB, or it could have been ICE, under the Department of Homeland Security. And the officer who shot her was boasting about it. Let me share the confrontation with her about this. Okay, here we go.
By the way, was falsely charged with impeding law enforcement, but the case actually fell apart. The judge dismissed it as being trumped up. He dismissed it with prejudice. And in fact, the agent who shot her, I'm not going to name him, but you know who he is, was quoted on social media the day or so afterward. And he said, quote, "I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys." And quote, "Cool, I'm up for another round of around and find out." Will you join me in condemning that agent?
Sir, that situation, I don't know the details of, but I.
What? That situation, I don't know the details of. You have one job. How many details do you need to know? What color shoes he was wearing? Because of course, maybe you don't know that. But don't you know the relevant details? Come on, man. That's Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut. Let's continue and hear more.
I will look into that.
I don't know why you can't join me in saying it was wrong to shoot Miramar, almost cause her death, and then brag about it. Wouldn't you agree with me that it was wrong?
Well, sir, the way that you have portrayed it, it appears to be, but let me look into the case so I can speak to the specifics of it.
In fact, apparently, contrary to what you just said, you actually supported the agent who shot Ms. Martinez 5 times. He's quoted as saying, when he was asked, everyone has been supportive, including Chief Bovino, Chief Banks, Secretary Noem, and El Jefe himself, referring presumably to President Trump. Is the agent who shot Ms. Martinez still on the job?
Sir, our law enforcement officers conduct operations every day according to procedure.
You have a question before you. Is this agent still on the job? Part 1 is you said you don't know the details and you'd have to look in it in the way it's described. It seems wrong, is kind of what she said. But then he points out that according to the agent, she has been supportive all the way up from Bovino to her to Donald Trump himself. And now she's being asked, is this guy still on the job? That's a yes or no question. She should know the answer to that. And in fact, the answer should be no. We're investigating this. He is not on the job. And I condemn these. If true, I condemn all of this, right? But what does she say? Does she respond? No. Let's listen.
Is the agent who shot Ms. Martinez still on the job?
Sir, our law enforcement officers conduct operations every day according to procedures and to training and the experience that they have. When there is something that is not done
Ms.
properly,
Martinez still on the job carrying a gun?
I don't know the details. I will find out and get that information to you.
Would you agree with me that he shouldn't be on the job carrying a gun?
I will look into this case and get back to you on the details. I'm
I
not
think
familiar
Americans
with it.
would find it absolutely terrifying that that agent is still on the job carrying a gun. And the fact that you can't tell me that you will take him off?
Sir, do you know who Angel Samanago is? Do you recognize that name?
You know,
This is
I
an
think we're
individual
talking about
that was
an
murdered
egregious
in your
illegality
state
here,
by
a
an illegal
violation.
alien.
Okay, so she's pivoting. He is a U.S. senator, and it's this terrible murder of somebody in his state. This murderer should be charged, should be, if true, should be tried, put in prison, right? And that is the job, of course, of law enforcement in Connecticut. The Senate legislative branch at the federal level doesn't usually have authority over that. And obviously, he would condemn that. She's trying to turn this around by not answering the question. That would be like, I mean, literally, she was asked, do you still have on the force someone who bragged about trying to murder Marimar Martinez, an American citizen, boasting about it, asking her, is he still on the job in your agency? Instead of answering, she is asking him a question that is not relevant. Okay, now, in addition to now having war fronts opened, well, now controlling Venezuela, apparently, their oil supply, at war with Iran, creating a out of control conflict in the Middle East that is never ending, now having a military operation in Ecuador. Donald Trump is now angry at Spain. And I got a little clip from the Spanish Prime Minister. Maybe you know a little Spanish. I won't play much of it, but you get the
Desde España
idea.
estamos en contra de este desastre, porque entendemos que los gobiernos estamos aquí para mejorar la vida de la gente, para aportar soluciones a los problemas, no para empeorar la vida de la gente. Y es absolutamente inaceptable
He's kind of saying that government leaders are to improve the life of the people.
que aquellos dirigentes que son incapaces de cumplir con ese cometido usen el humo de la guerra para ocultar su fracaso y llenar de paso.
And basically, he's saying he's against this war in Iran. That's what I got. Donald Trump isn't happy with that, so now he wants to have some kind of retaliation, I think financial, against Spain. When will it end? Now, as we, I think we're going to almost get to, at this point, to Crazy Town before we leave. But I do want to add a little bit more in English about Spain, so you know what he's talking about.
President, are you going to take the heat off the Europeans to potentially help you? Mark Rutte called on the allies to also help you.
What does that mean?
Well, you have to ask Mark Rutte. He said not as part of NATO, but to be helpful to you in this.
Okay, so it's hard to kind of hear what he's saying about, what he's talking about, but basically Donald Trump is vowing to cut trade because Spain will not let the U.S. use its Air Force base. This seems to be what the Prime Minister was talking about. He basically said the position of the government of Spain can be summed up in 3 words: no to war, right? He does not want to repeat the mistakes of the past. He does not want to allow the Air Force bases there to be used. So Donald Trump is now being asked about this, about the refusal of the Prime Minister of Spain to participate in this war.
Well, some of the European nations have been helpful and some haven't. And I'm, very surprised. Germany's been great. He's been terrific. Others have been very good, terrific. I think that the head of NATO, Mark, is fantastic. Okay, Mark Rutte. I think he's fantastic. But some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it. And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases. And that's all right, we could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it. But we don't have to. But they were unfriendly. And so I told him, we don't want to, Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't.
we can do it anyway, even if they don't want to. Kind of rapey, right? That's just who this guy is. This is who this guy is. Unbelievable. Okay. So I think it's time that we do two things. One, let's honor those members of the service who died, right? Who died, who were killed as a result of this ill-conceived attack. And these are 4 service members, and I want to share their photos with you. And this is, of course, not including people who were injured, right? This is just including those who so far have lost their lives. From left to right, we have Declan Cody, then Noah Tajans, Nicole Amor, and Cody Cork. I didn't give you their full titles. Let me show them that respect. Sergeant Declan Cody, Sergeant First Class Noah Tajans, Sergeant First Class Nicole Amor, and Captain Cody Cork. So these are the first. I think we need to keep track of all these folks. I wish I had the names of the girls who lost their lives, who were killed actually by either our or Israel's bomb into their school. And I just don't. I don't. But perhaps I can share at least some photos when the families provide those. This is where we are. I don't know how we get out of this at this moment, but I do know midterm elections matter. And we already know that it's quite likely, based on last night's primary in North Carolina, it's quite likely that that we will have Roy Cooper win in U.S. Senate. He's a Democrat right now in the Senate race. As I told you, Tom Tillis isn't running for re-election, so we have a Republican named Michael Whately. Roy Cooper is wildly popular as governor. As someone pointed out on the news yesterday, he has never lost a statewide election. I don't want to jinx anything, but it's quite possible North Carolina could flip. We also have Texas in play. Texas had a Republican and Democratic Senate primary. There are lots of issues with how the polls were open or not open, but in terms of the Republicans, there is now going to be a runoff. So it's kind of crazy that we have Senator Cornyn, who probably thought he would not have any issues, but he now will have a runoff with Ken Paxton because neither of them got 50% of the vote. There have been a third-party candidate. And then as for the Democrats in that race, it looks like Jasmine Crockett, who was in competition with James Tallarico, has conceded. Let me share this with you. This is, she said, Congresswoman Crockett, this morning I called James and congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. This is about the future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track. With the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win. I'm committed to doing my part and will continue to work to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. I'm very happy that Crockett said this. Look, I love Jasmine Crockett, love James Tallarico. This is the classy, pro-America, anti-oligarchy and authoritarianism move. I'm glad she made it. It's very hard to concede, I am sure. And, you know, for her supporters, I have to say, I wanted her to win, but now we move beyond that. Okay, so let us go to Crazy Town. Oops, here we go. Okay. I think this is the craziest ass thing I've ever heard. Donald Trump forgetting where his own father was born. Let's just be clear. Donald Trump's father was born in New York City. Donald Trump's grandfather was born in Germany. And apparently, according to history sources, his grandfather ended up trying to leave Germany to escape serving in the military, comes to the US, ends up back in Germany, then back to the US where Fred Sr. was born. Anyhow, let's play this.
It's a shame. It's
let's be clear, he's sitting next to the German chancellor.
It's a shame. It's and that country, UK, and I love that country. I love it. My mother was born there. I love it. My mother was born there. My father was born. Right? He knows all about my father. My father was born there. So, you know, very places that you sort of automatically very feel warmly about. But the UK, what they're doing with energy and what they're doing with immigration is horrible.
You automatically feel warmly about where your ancestors come from and not others? What do Germany and the UK have in common? He is such a eugenicist and such a xenophobe and also an idiot. But other than that, what can I say about him? Adjudicated rapist, convicted felon, one of the stupidest people on the planet, getting us into a forever war, a liar, a homophobe, a narcissist, a fraud. I don't even know how many more nice things I can say about the man. Okay, guys, I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you for being part of the show and this Prism Mate community. Thank you to our amazing mods, Jason, Deb, and AJ. And for all of you who have, as I said, created a community where we can come together, laugh a little bit, cry a little bit, and keep moving forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hello, Prism Mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, Prism Mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.